What you do?
Don't tell myself. Oh, I'm sorry.
Before we begin, I would like you all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would like to thank one and all for coming here today and taking time out either from your job. If you work for the government, that's all right, you're excused. If you're in private, you may be docked. But I appreciate, and we all appreciate the fact that you're here today to help honor the Stony Point Police Department. I am particularly pleased that the Chief asked me to MC this event this morning, since I kind of in my lifetime have watched the Stony Point Police Department grow from its infancy when we were walking around with petitions and we had one police chief who was the police department and trying to get 24-hour police protection, which we didn't have at one time in this town. And from that, we have grown to a very effective police department where last year we had the distinction of, proportionate to its population, having the town, the only town with the lowest rate of crime. And I give that credit a lot to the Stony Point Police Department. Steve, this plugs up on me. Today, I have the distinct privilege to MC a event in which Stony Point Police Department will receive accreditation, first in Rockland County, the police agency, for maintaining standards far beyond the normal concept of law enforcement work. As I was saying to the Commissioner just a few minutes ago, being in education 32 years, I've gone through what is normally known as middle stage evaluation. And that's where school districts have to live up to certain standards, and they are accredited or they're not accredited, and if they're not accredited, it makes the headlines. This is being done in police work, in law enforcement agencies. And I think it's an excellent program that most agencies can strive. It is a criteria to reach. The key is effectiveness. No longer being good or bad is how effective you are. And school districts have been doing it for years. Now police departments are doing it and increasing their basic criteria for improving themselves. No one can improve an agency better than the people from within that agency itself. I have also a problem of introducing a whole room, as normally happens, but I can get out of it by saying you're all famous We know you all, and therefore I won't introduce anybody. But I'm too big a hand to do that. Many of the people here today hold public office or have positions of distinction. And as I'm going through this list, I'm saying to myself, who is going to be the first one I'm going to introduce? Should it be the commissioner? Should it be the chief? What's the protocol? Well, this is the town of Stony Point. And we have our own protocol. And I have to put at the top of the list of introduction a man who is the town judge for 48 years, the longest in the history of the state of New York, a man I personally have always admired, Judge Vince Clark.
But if I'm looking around the room, I observe the expression in the various faces. It reminds me of the little boy, the young couple who took their young boy to Mass this one Sunday morning. Because on this particular morning, the priest gave the regular homily, and it went on for 10 minutes, and finally, incidentally, the little boy was sitting between his mother and father. And the little boy kept getting fidgety and fidgety. And asked him, "Look, Dad," he said, "what's the matter with you?" And he kept looking steadily over at the sanctuary lamp. Now, the sanctuary lamp is red, with those who don't know what the sanctuary lamp is. And finally, after 15 minutes, the dad said to the little son, "Sonny, what's the matter with you?" He said, "Daddy, when's that light going to change so we can go?" Many years, and I'll make a long story short, congratulations and lots of luck.
Thank you, Judge. On the days, you know your chief, he's been appearing in the papers, and Deputy Commissioner of the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, John Heritage. We also have present today the supervisor of the town of Stony Point, who was the supervisor back in the 60s, 68, when the police department was organized, Bob Slocum. Also our present supervisor from one end of the spectrum to the other, John Shanky. John up and around and well. Going down the list, and if I miss somebody, what can I say? Raise your hand. Law enforcement, representation of law enforcement agencies today. Bob Van Cora is the president of the PBA, Rockland County PBA, and also representing South Niagara. Let's hope I get this wrong. If I lost up an Italian name. Bob DiCiero, Rockland County President of Rockland County Shields. Lieutenant Hughes, representing Major Kelly, Troop F Command, New York State Police. Bill Engelbrecht, Director of the Rockland County Police Academy. Mike Ramos, representing the Village of Haverstraw Police Department. Also, present here today is my sweetheart sitting in the back, who I sat many years on the town board with, former councilwoman in the town of Stony Point, Anna Stolbroker. Councilman, town of Stony Point, Bill Decker. Doug Johnson, Highway Superintendent. Dan Ferguson, former councilman, and I sat many years on the town board with him. Mike Pesner, EMC coordinator. Peter Branty, Chief Public Defender. Friedman and Fran Hunter, my colleagues from the Town Board of Ramapo, have joined us today. We thank you for coming. Arthur Ferraro, Special Counsel to the town of Stony Point. Dwight Joyce, former Town Attorney for the Town of Stony Point. Ruth Vicari, Town Justice. And when I get into some of the other, you know, deliberately I stayed away from the state, the city right up here, because they usually get introduced first, but we do different things different in Stony Point. Hey, I have to get elected in this town. And I cannot forget my good friend, Chairman of the Democratic Committee of Rockland County, Vince Monti. Ralph Cadisco, you all know, the former athletic director of the North Rockland School District and now village trustee in Haverstraw. He's the only guy walking around that has a stadium named after him. He's still alive. And beautiful town clerk of Stony Point, Fran Mullen. Bill McDermott, former police commissioner of the Stony Point Police Department. Besides the state officials, who's that? Buddy Lewis, I'm sorry.
I think that was deliberate, Ken.
Yeah, and I got you too.
I know you did.
But you're in two parties.
You always save the best for last.
Buddy Lewis. Harry Buddy Lewis, one of the nicest guys I know. Ann O'Sullivan, councilwoman. I love Ann O'Sullivan. I'm sorry, Ann. And receiver of Vi Campbell, I think the name. Receiver of taxes. Now, I still didn't mention these guys. Remember that. You all know a New York State Senator, Senator Joe Holland. And our assemblymen, representatives in the county, we have a whole slew of them because we've been sliced up in all different areas. Sam Coleman, Alex Gromack, New York State Senator, and Ann O'Sullivan will be representing George Pataki, who's the assemblyman for this district, this town, and Westchester, Orange. All right, some more names that have been given to me. Ken Rivers is here? Oh, I didn't see you, Ken. Chief Leo Costa from the Suffern Police Department. Chief Tom Gaynor, is that? I can't read his writing. Piron? Mr. Ralph Purdy, Tri-County Federation of Police. Mr. Dennis McCarthy, the Division of Criminal Justice Service. Who did I miss now? Is there anybody left? Want to come up and introduce yourself? Okay, as we stated before, the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Service Accreditation Program is unique in that it's the only accreditation program in the nation administered by a state agency. Many states have contacted New York State and attempt to copy this program. Accreditation status represents a significant professional achievement, and we, especially as Stony Pointers, are very proud. The achievement is made especially noteworthy because of the formal recognition which was granted to indicate that an institution meets or exceeds general expectations of quality in this field. And I would like to emphasize exceeds. An effective police department is what this is all about. And our little police department has shown to be small, but powerful and effective. And we have done that. We are proud and give credit to all of the Stony Point police officers and the administration and especially to our Chief of Police, Steve Scurti. Say a few words. At this time, our first speaker will be the individual who was the supervisor of the town of Stony Point when the Stony Point Police Department was placed into existence. I introduce Mr. Robert Slocum, former supervisor.
Thank you very much, Ken. Well, a lot of familiar names. I can't recognize the faces too much, but the names are still familiar after 15 or 20 years. It's a pleasure to be here. Chief, Commissioner, honored guests, Stony Point's finest. It's, as I say, wonderful to be here. I drove down this morning and tried to collect a few thoughts and stopped off at Hojo's and wrote a few things down. I don't know whether it was necessary because you all look so intelligent. You probably heard everything that could be said many times before. But you'll forgive me, it doesn't pay to grow old. I have to switch from bifocals to trifocals. The benefit of trifocals is that you can not only see where you're going, but where you've been. Hopefully. Dostoevsky, the Russian author and philosopher, moralist, once said in a story he wrote, Brothers Karamazov, that a policeman is only a thief turned inside out. Of course, he was talking about the Russian police. But more generally, he was talking about humanity and the fact that humanity is flawed. And it's very easy to see that all of us have a little streak of larceny in us. Who likes to pay their income tax? We all like to cheat a little bit if we can get away with it. We don't like to be caught. And of course, as a nation of laws, it's up to us to obey those laws. Not dependent upon the fact of whether we're going to be caught disobeying or not. My old friend, and perhaps you remember, Bill McCabe, who was editor of the Rockland County Times, better known as the Haverstraw Times, told me once they went to a meeting of his college associates, a meeting of editors, and they said, these people were editors of big-time city newspapers, daily. Bill, what are you doing editing a small town weekly newspaper? Why do you do it? Everybody in a small town knows what's going on. He said, yeah, but they want to read the paper to see who's getting caught. Well, of course, that's why we obey the laws, I suppose. The police have a lot of power. You're the extension of the Constitution that most of us think resides in Washington, but extends all the way down. And while many people have more power than the police, the judges, the district attorneys, the sheriff, the governors, the presidents, you are where the average citizen meets law enforcement. You have the uniform, the badge, gun, the summons ticket. And so it's important that the law be applied fairly, equitably, to rich and poor, to powerful, to the weak, to the ugly, and to the beautiful. Well, we might make an exception for the beautiful once in a while if they got a tear on their cheek. That's a chauvinist remark, I suppose. But what are you going to do? It's a big responsibility enforcing the law, to make the citizens appreciate that it is fair. Driving down today on I-95, everybody was going 70 miles an hour, but the speed limit is only 55. I personally think that should be changed, because if everybody breaks the law, it makes the law look foolish. But if we're stopped, we can't say that, well, everybody does it, why do you pick on me? No, if you're stopped going 70, you're breaking the law, you have to expect to be punished. And that's only the way it should be. But the fact that your department has been certified, I'm not familiar with all the standards, but I know it means that you're an efficient department, that you know how to enforce the law with respect for the people that you're enforcing it for, whether you're giving somebody a ticket or giving somebody direction. You have to be friendly, you have to be kind. They're citizens, they're human beings as well as everyone else. The credit, I think, goes to you for having been certified. And certainly the credit goes to your chief because he felt that was important. I believe that wherever you find a police department that has run amok, it's because they are reflecting the attitudes of their chief, or the lack of attitude, the laxity of attitude. If the chief says you can get away with it, human nature says we'll try to. And you have that power, as I said before, the police power. And nothing is more corrosive than power. So the police have to be mindful that they have to obey the law just as well as everyone else. When the people know that, I think they have greater respect for it. And I'm sure that, your chief has provided the leadership. I chose him in 1967 because he was a professional, because I saw in him the ability to lead, and I think that's been the case. Your job is a tough one. Enforcing the law is never easy. It's abrasive. There are a lot of physiological and psychological trauma. But if you do it with honor and dignity, it's to your credit and to the credit of the people who pay your salaries. And I'm sure that if you do it with honor, the good Lord will watch over you and hopefully protect you. I know I'm honored to be here, and I'm proud of the fact that I had something to do with establishing the force and selecting the chief. God bless you all.
Thank you, Bob. Next, I'd like to introduce the present supervisor of the town of Stony Point, John Schenke.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to follow Bob Slocum to the podium. And you all know each other. You've all been introduced, and I suppose we're all going to impress each other. We're all going to impress ourselves tonight, this afternoon, at this occasion, when really the accolades and the credit has to be bestowed on the police department as it exists today, and the chief of police who felt that as good as his department was, it could be better, or if it couldn't be better, then it should be given the accreditation that's available to it from the state of New York. There are only about 20 police departments in the state that have the accreditation because either they didn't qualify or they haven't applied. I'm sure there are a good many police departments who wouldn't want the state officers, those who are technical people who have to judge whether or not these departments are qualified. I'm sure there are departments that wouldn't want them poking into their business. Stony Point is a young police department. It's been in business for not much more than 20 years. And as far as I'm concerned, they've done their job. They have all done their job, collectively and individually, as best as we could expect. It's a credit to Chief Scurti that in his busy schedule, he decided to allow these people, invite these people, and welcome these people into his department to look over his shoulder, because if you failed, it was a failure for the chief. However, if you passed, and he felt everybody would, and he felt the system would work, and it worked well, then of course they get to wear the patch of dignity that goes with the accreditation. I remember when Stony Point had no full-time police department for the state policeman. Stony Point, I remember when Chief Scurti made the chief when the police department started. We pride ourselves, as a matter of fact, Bob Slocum was supervisor of the town of Stony Point became a first-class town. And with it came the right to have a police department. And so we've had a first-class police department since then. And proud of. So on this occasion, when the Stony Point Police Department has proven itself, and the state of New York has taken notice, and other police departments are saying, well, Stony Point has shown the way, I congratulate the chief and all the members of the current Stony Point Police Department for a job well done. Thank you very much.
The clarification of what is meant by first class, when you reach a certain population, you are now have to have your own police department, and you become classified as first class to the police department. As far as quality of its citizens, Stony Point has always been a first class town. I like that one. I also, a few comments that Mr. Shanky made. I noticed that Mr. Quinn, the PBA president, was writing down how well a job you're doing in preparation.
Thank you, John.
Now I want to thank the commissioner who has come all the way from Albany to make this presentation to our small community and our police department. And I would like at this time to introduce Deputy Commissioner of the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, John Heritage.
Good morning, and thank you for that warm reception. Let me first start off by saying that I'm glad that all the protocol introductions were taken care of, because now I don't have to worry about offending someone if I don't recognize them personally. So let me first start off by saying to Chief Scurti and to all of our honored and dignified guests, certainly you all are. It's indeed a pleasure for myself and my staff to be here this morning. The past 30 or so years have witnessed enormous changes in local law enforcement. These changes were driven by two major forces. First was a great series of constitutional court decisions that imposed a whole new set of rules on the business of policing. New and complicated rules governing searches and seizures, interrogations of criminal suspects, use of force to make arrests and prevent escapes. These are rules of enormous significance because they arise directly out of our national and state constitutions. The second was the more recent insurance crisis. That crisis developed out of another series of important court decisions that imposed on law enforcement agencies tough but vague new standards of administration, training, and performance. I don't have to tell those of you who hold public office in this county how the insurance crisis increased the cost of local government. And at the same time, the constant threat of lawsuits against local government and their agencies frustrated all of you in your efforts to provide many basic public services, especially public security. The tide has turned. Today, we believe that the agenda for the future development of state and municipal law enforcement will no longer be set by the courts and the insurance companies. It will be set by law enforcement professionals working closely with their executives of their municipalities. The event that brings us together today is evidence of that partnership. Over 3 years ago, Governor Cuomo, in his annual message to the legislature, directed us to begin to explore the feasibility of establishing a state law enforcement accreditation program. The governor proposed legislation to create the program in 1988, and it was adopted by the legislature. The new program is a true milestone in the history of law enforcement in New York. Indeed, as you have heard, this is the first statewide program of its kind in the country. The accreditation program brings together representatives of law enforcement and municipal government to develop standards covering every significant area of police administration, operations, and training. These standards will have many beneficial effects. Chief among these will be the greater standardization of practice and procedure among police and sheriff's departments. This will in turn improve performance, reduce exposure to liability, and most importantly, enhance the ability of law enforcement agencies at every level to work together. This last purpose grows ever more critical. Interagency cooperation is essential to effectively respond to criminal activity that crosses every kind of jurisdictional border, especially the international traffic in narcotics. To be sure that it works and works smoothly, we must promote greater consistency in practices, standards, and training of state, local, and federal law enforcement agencies. All of these must work very closely together as a matter of course. The accreditation program is in the forefront of a new and enlightened trend in law enforcement. And I want to compliment Chief Stephen Scurti today and all of the fine men and women of the Stony Point Police Department. Your department today becomes among the first agencies in the state to receive accreditation under our new statewide program. And indeed, the town of Stony Point can be very proud to be at the vanguard of modern law enforcement. So then, Chief, I would ask that you come up. Before I make the presentation, I would ask that you go over and put this on our board, Hall of Fame of accredited agencies. Welcome to the world of accreditation. It says here, certificate of accreditation, be hereby known that the town of Stony Point Police Department has met all applicable requirements established by the New York State Law Enforcement Accreditation Council. The council is therefore proud to award the agency accreditation status for the period of September 5th, 1991 to September 5th, 1996. But no one can ever take this away from us because we'll always be accredited to Stony Point. I thank you all for being here. You're truly invited as guests because every one of you sitting there is welcome to the town of Stony Point and the Stony Point Police Department. There are a lot of old-time friends out there, a lot of new acquaintances, a lot of dignitaries, and I appreciate you all being here. When I thought about something to say about accreditation, I think the commissioner covered the accreditation process very well. What I'd like to say about his office, Commissioner John Heritage, that it's indeed a pleasure working with him and his staff. We've done it on numerous occasions. We have a DARE program. We do it all the time with BNP, and he has an exemplary staff, and he epitomizes what one can do in law enforcement, and he always has my personal congratulations. Thank you. When I was up in Albany first, when I was approved for accreditation, it was moving because it was the superintendent of state police who moved the resolution to have Stony Point accredited, and it was unanimous. And that takes me back 29 years ago. And I have a great love for the state police, and if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here today. At that time, I said that accreditation is the way of the future. I still believe that. And although we went through a lot of sweat and strain, I want you to know that, some of my guys are visiting doctors quite often because of problems. But we got through it. It's not an easy process, but when you travel into the unknown, it's never easy. And coming to Stony Point was the unknown.
But if one truly has a vision of what we can do in the future, then we're striving towards that vision. I haven't given up in 24 years of being here because we can always improve, and I believe in that. And change is inevitable, and I welcome change and look for change. And I always tell the people who work for me, if you could show me how I could do something better, well then tell me about it, write it down, and prove it to me, and we'll do it. And if I don't agree with you, then you'll have to accept that too. We get a lot of good ideas that way, and that's the way what we believe in Stony Point. We truly are a family. But I don't want to go on forever there, but I probably could. But when I thought about something to say, one of the things that accreditation did was that we had to write down the department's mission and values. And this was put together. It may sound like a lot of words, but especially to me and the members of the department, it's something that we believe in. So I'll just read it verbatim. It's not that long. It says, the principal mission of the Stony Point Police Department is to serve the community by protecting life and property, by preventing crime, by enforcing laws, and by maintaining order for all citizens. It is essential for all members to remember that in the execution of our duties, we act not for ourselves, but for the good of the public, to respect and protect rights of all citizens, and perform our duties with honesty, zeal, courage, discretion, fidelity, and sound judgment. Central to our mission are the values that guide our work and decisions and help us to contribute to the quality of life in Stony Point. Our values are characteristics or qualities of work. They are non-negotiable. Although we may need to balance them, we will never ignore them for the sake of expediency or personal preference. We hold our values constantly before us to teach and remind us and the community of our ideals. They are the foundation upon which our policy, goals, and operations are built. In fulfilling our mission, we need the support of citizens, elected representatives, government officials, and the criminal justice system in order to provide the quality of service our values commit us to providing. We, the members of the Stony Point Police Department, value human life, laws and constitution, integrity, excellence, accountability, cooperation, problem solving, and loyalty. I thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Somebody has to spearhead the work of going for accreditation. Now, I'd like to introduce now to say a few words the gentleman who has been more or less in charge of the accreditation, carrying it through, making sure everything is done. Project Manager Accreditation, Sergeant Dan Ricci.
Everybody can hear me all right, or?
Yes.
Go without this, I think. Commissioner covered the ground. Fortunately, everybody's been recognized. I won't have to do it again, but Commissioner, I will thank you for traveling down from Albany today. And I will honestly say that you all honor us by being here today. It's interesting, we checked back on the records, and 1 year ago tomorrow is when we started this project. So we've come to full circle in a year, and now we're here. When I was first told that I was to be the project manager, I was probably somewhat indifferent. And the only reason I say that is I had no concept of the program. I didn't know what was involved, and it was going to be a learning experience. I can truly say that as I got into the program, I gained a true respect for it. Anybody who's not involved in it now should certainly consider getting into it. It's really a great program. I think in the nature of our job, we often have to expend large amounts of energy, knowing that in the end, it's probably going to be not very good results. This is certainly an exception to that. Every piece of energy we put into it, we were certainly paid back in kind. I have to make certain acknowledgments here. First and foremost, Chief Scurti. First of all, for providing the leadership to myself and the department to get us through this project. And secondly, for providing me the time, and more important, probably most importantly, is having the faith in me to see this through. Chief, thank you. One person who's not in the room, but I feel I have to mention, is Captain Daniel Hickey of the White Plains Police Department, who's more or less the founding father of accreditation and more than extended himself to us. Probably about halfway through the program, when the work really started to pile up, Ryan Moore came on board right to the end, one of our co-workers. He was certainly a big help. All the members of the department. When the 3 people came down for the on-site assessments, the 3 people come here, they spent 3 days. They were amazed. Every time they asked a question, well, did the PVA have a problem with this? Did the PVA have a problem with this? Did you get a fight on this? We didn't have any problem. Everybody accepted the program, they adopted it, they carried it through, and everybody in the department can share on this today. This may sound a little corny, but I have to thank my wife. I got really tied up in this, and basically we have a new malady across the state. It's recently been diagnosed by Center for Disease Control. I won't tell you the legal name or the formal name, but basically the layman's term is accreditation widow. She became an accreditation widow, and I certainly have to thank her for that. And Commissioner, right in your own house, Mr. Dennis McCarty, who was more behind the scenes. He wasn't a day-to-day person, but he was a great help. And when I say day-to-day, John O'Neill and Mike Carpenter, I don't think probably a week went by I didn't call you 2 or 3 times. I can't say enough about these 2 men, sir. They epitomize the program. I understand it's their job, but they go well beyond that. I won't say that I couldn't have done it without them because I want the chief to maintain this orbit. I really did. But I will honestly say that I would not want to try without them. In closing, I just want to thank you all again for joining us today. Commissioner, it's been an honor and a privilege to be part of this program. You can take great pride in leading one of us in this program. Thank you.
I really don't need this, do I? At this time, some of our officials have requested to make presentations, and I'll go back to normal protocol. And I'd like to introduce our New York State Senator, Joseph Holland.
Thank you very much, Kenny. It really is a pleasure to be here today, and I'm very impressed with the turnout. You know, sometimes you go to places and people get awards, and don't go with you, that's all right. People get awards, and just the local people show up. It's nice to see people from the unions, from the commissioner, from different towns and villages in the state to back everybody up. I congratulate you all for being here, and I congratulate Stony Point for the work that they have done. And yes, they've always been a first-class town, no question about it. It's nice to see Bob Slocum. I haven't seen Bob Slocum for years and years and years, and it's nice to see you here, Bob. And I remember also when the troopers were here, and they did a good job too, and I remember the struggle to get the police force. It's nice to see John. John's doing well after not feeling well. I just have to say 2 words about the DARE program, because I heard it mentioned before. My daughter went through the DARE program. I think it's a fantastic program. I think it's an opportunity not only to educate young people for drugs, but to get the police officer next to the children, and so that the children are not afraid of the police officer or go away from the police officer. It's an excellent, excellent program. With all that said, I do want to congratulate Stony Point. I want to congratulate the chief. I want to congratulate every member of the force, and I've put a proclamation, Chief, presented to the Stony Point Police Department in honor of being recognized as the first police agency in Rockland County to be fully accredited by the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services Accreditation Council. My congratulations.
Representing our assemblyman in the 91st Assembly District, the lovely, vivacious, Councilwoman in town, Stony Point, the lovely Ann O'Sullivan. I'll save them.
All right. It's really my pleasure to be a part of Stony Point, and today I send George Pataki's congratulations to our staff, police department, our chief, and all the administration. And I know a lot of hard work went into this, and you deserve it. You're the best, and I congratulate you also. Thank you.
I'd also like to introduce now one of the senior assemblymen. I had the pleasure of serving on the county legislature with this gentleman for about 7 years before he went to the assembly. The Honorable Sam Coleman.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. This is the first time I'm in this building. It's a beautiful building. I've come to Stony Point before, and I heard about Stony Point for a long time. I remember Stony Point through the eyes when Bob Slocum was not only supervisor here, but the chairman of the Board of Supervisors. He was a very good chairman of the Board of Supervisors. As a matter of fact, when we were talking about a charter form of government in those days, Bob Slocum's name was mentioned as a possible candidate. And Bob, I'm delighted to see you here. I also remember when you were on the Constitutional Convention. So Slocum is part of the history of Rockland County and certainly made Stony Point proud. I'm here because I was invited, but also I feel that this is a really county-wide of significance, not just Stony Point. Because eventually, crime does not stop at border's edge. And to have a Stony Point department to show the way, I feel is poetic justice. It's one of the smaller departments, but smaller does not mean not as good as the others, and you have shown it. As a matter of fact, I had the pleasure to serve on the county legislature with Ken Ingenito, and he represents the smallest town. And you should see how he fights for you. I mean, nothing happens without Stony Point having to be consulted, and he fights like he represents a whole town, whereas I represented Ramapo, there were 6 others. So he does a fantastic job for you. So to me, Stony Point, I know who you are, and I'm not surprised at all that it was the Stony Point Department was the first one to seek accreditation. Maybe because we're small, we have to do things, overcompensate. I think people say that there's such a thing as a Napoleonic complex. Many people who seek power are rather short. Have you noticed? Most politicians are not very of big stature because if they are so tall, they don't have to run for office. They have nothing to prove. So I'm absolutely delighted to be here to congratulate Chief Scurti and the department. And I have a citation from the New York State Assembly, which I will not read, but I would like to be proudly presented to you.
Also, I'd like to introduce our freshman assemblyman, too old to be freshman. Alex Stromack, I'm newly elected New York State Assemblyman, and I also had the pleasure of serving with this gentleman.
Thank you, Ken. We also served 7 years. Sam said he had served 7 with Ken, and I served 7, so I think you get that 7-year itch, and you want to get out of the legislature, move on to the assembly. And I'm very happy to be serving the people of the state in the assembly with Sam Coleman. Mr. Slocum, when you had mentioned that police officers sometimes give a little courtesy to young or pretty people, I got to tell you that they are also compassionate to politicians, because early this year when I was traveling to Albany, it was about 5:30 in the morning on the thruway, and I was going probably 57 miles an hour. I was pulled over by one of the state troopers, and he asked if I was the assemblyman or driving his car, and I informed him I was. He said, "Where are you headed?" And I said, "To Albany." And he said, "Well, I'm not going to give you a ticket because you're going to get more punishment up there than any ticket I can give you." dark and passionate at times, but the program stands pride, professionalism, progress. That's what the Stony Point Police are. And Chief, it's a tribute to you and your men to be the first police department in Rockland County. And as a state assemblyman, we hope that others will begin to pick up on the program, because in this day and time, police officers need all the training and the professionalism that they can get because of the complexity of the laws and the many situations they deal with. So again, it's a tribute to you and the fine officers that you lead on being the first police department in Rockland County to receive this credit. If you could come up, I'd also like to give you a certificate.
Like to introduce at this time a gentleman who's never lost for words and is well known throughout the county of Rockland, the Rockland County District Attorney, Ken Griffiths.
Thank you, Ken. Again, it's a pleasure to be here today. I want to congratulate Chief Scurti and, of course, the Commissioner. It's always great seeing you again. I think I've been here many times, Sam. Unfortunately, it's usually in the middle of the night. But it's usually, unfortunately, where there's crime that's taking place in Rockland County. But I can attest firsthand that this is probably some of the finest people I've ever met, some of the finest police officers I've ever met anywhere. These are true professionals, and I think particularly the non-police community should really indeed be proud of what you have here in Stony Point. You have an outstanding chief, and you have a truly, truly outstanding group of police officers. I remember a murder that we had up, regrettably, in Rockland County in Tompkins Cove, where I had the opportunity of working firsthand, dealing with the death of a young man named Nickel Doc Vesti right here in Tompkins Cove in Stony Point. And I really learned to appreciate the sincerity, the professionalism, and the depth that you have in the department. So I think, in addition to yourself, Chief, and you spearheaded this, I think each of the men of this department should indeed be congratulated for making Stony Point one of the finest departments in the state. And I hope one day we'll live to see that every police department in Rockland County, not just the town of Stony Point, which spearheaded this, but every police department in Rockland County will be accredited. And we'll go through the same program that you and all the men in your department did. So congratulations to the town of Stony Point, and most importantly to the police officers of this outstanding town and outstanding department. Congratulations.
But in the meantime, I would also, as the county legislature, and on the county legislature of the town of Stony Point for the past 900 years, it seems, 9 years, so Ken, excuse me, Ken, I'm all right. Steve, I just suspended about 5 kids this morning, so I'm sure. Steve, on behalf of the Rockland County legislature, we would like to present the Stony Point Police Department Distinguished Services Award, recognizing not only law enforcement in Stony Point and the effectiveness that you have portrayed through this accreditation ceremony today, but also in honor and the support of the Rockland County legislature, all law enforcement organizations in this county. Congratulations to you, to the officers. I get a little melancholy because I look at a lot of the officers, 3/4 of them I taught. I know them since I was 16. And congratulations to you.
Teach me.
I'm teaching you now. All right, that brings a close to our ceremony this morning. I would like to thank you all for being here. We have somewhat of refreshments and so forth, I believe, in the back. Are you, all the police officers standing in front of them? I hope they're because all through the ceremonies, I see the hands on my refreshments are here on the courtesy of the PBA. Thank you again for coming, and bon appetit.